Hello everyone, it is Caitlin, and today we are making an embroidered 1870s corset. Let's get started by cutting out the pieces. So I have here some linen. We are basing this corset off one in the, oh gosh, what's it called? Is it Los Angeles costume something? Anyway, it's on the screen. Pretty little 1870s corset, 1860s, 1870s, somewhere in there. Of linen, twilled linen. I got a herringbone twilled linen, so it's similar. It's a very loose weave, and I'm slightly concerned, but we're going to try it anyway. The pattern is sort of the Laughing Moon ladies Victorian corset modified, because it doesn't seem like it's going to fit me right out the package. I think I need to make my hips larger. So I enlarged the hips by about 3 inches. All around, except I did not add anything to the front or the side front because I don't need any extra there. My hips are more on the side than the back. So side, back, and back is where I added 3 inches. I added 3/4 of an inch on either side of the side back, on either side of the side, and then on one side of the back I added 1/2 inch. So that was equal to my 3.5 inches that I needed. Hopefully everything else fits. This is kind of going to be a mock-up. I bought enough fabric to do a mock-up and the real fabric if I needed to, or the real corset if I needed to. Hopefully I won't need to, but I'm prepared to do that. So let's go ahead and get cutting. Let's attach some pieces. Wait a second. Hang on, because this is a single layer corset. I'm going to cover up the seams with the binding, so I actually need to sew these wrong sides together. So it's in a slight panic mode. I'm not used to this. I've never done a single layer corset before. And we're going to use our original, well, not my original. We're going to use the original 1880s machine that a friend has lent me, so should be a fun little project to do on that. Let's see, side, here's my side. Okay. Alright, here we are with the antique sewing machine. I sewed up one side and it works really well. I did have to make a few changes. I subtracted a little bit from the waist and it was slightly too big in the hips. I just added a little too much, but not by much. So it mostly fits. And I took care of the adjustments and we're good to go. So, I kind of forgot where we left off on this project, because I got a lot done, but I wasn't filming it, because I forgot to, and so I decided I was going to film the second half of the corset, because I got the first half done, but then the needle broke on the machine, and I was very determined to do this all on the original sewing machine, so I had to go buy more needles, and that took a couple days to come in, but it's all fixed now, and the machine works, so we're all good. But yes, so let's go ahead and get started on the second half. So first half looks really good. Yeah, so it is all ready for boning, basically. I think I'm going to embroider it probably before boning. I haven't quite decided. I think before boning. You can see the little gussets, little faux gussets, because they're not really gussets. Aren't they cute? Okay, so let's get started. Second half. I have cut a facing piece. It is the same linen, but then I lined it in the cotton because I'm a little bit concerned about the bones poking out, simply because the linen is very loose weave. So I want to add a little bit of body and structure to it. So this particular one, I think it's 2.5 inches wide, the first one. And I'm going to do exactly the same, which is what the original did and what I did on this side, which is going to sew a seam down right at the edge of this bit, and then leave a space for boning, and then just tack down the ends, basically. So let's work on that first. So this goes in here. I left little holes so we can put this inside. There we go. I need some pins is what I'm going to need. The nice thing about the original machine is that it's a hand crank, and therefore I can feel exactly each stitch, whether it's going to hit the boning, so I don't break needles this way. You're doing it by hand, basically, but it's by machine. I can feel for it by hand. The goal with this is to get as close to the bone as possible, of course without going through the bone, because you can't go through the bone. That's solid metal. So here's my strip with the cotton inside, turn raw edges under. I'm going to match it with, oops, I ironed these seams open first of all, did that. I'm going to match it with the edge of this other one that I did. Okay, and it pretty much matched up until 8 inches from the top. So I put a pin here to mark where 8 inches was, so I knew when to start pushing this to the side. So you definitely want to cover all the raw edges. That's important. Oops. Let me go ahead and move this up a little bit. And I want this, oops, I had it measured. I measured the other one to see how big the first bust gusset was, and it was 2 1/4 from the very edge. Wait, that's not right. 2 1/4 from the edge of this, that's right. Okay, so I want this thing to end right here. So obviously I want it to be the same as the other side of the corset. So now I'm going to sew this very edge down, then make a boning width channel, so boning channel. Then I'll do the other end and another boning channel, and there'll just be a space about 3/4 of an inch in the middle. And I'll be back for the third one. Alright, third one. This is the really wide one. On the original it looked wide, so that's why I made it. This finish is about 4 inches, so like 5, I think I cut it 5 inches. So we're going to match it to here. And this is basically where I stopped seeing detail in the original. So from here, oh, well, here is pretty much right. From about here over is what I made up. 2 1/2 inches over to form the gusset of sorts. Sew that up. Sew a gusset channel or a boning channel. Let's see, what else did I do on this one? I did do a boning right in the middle. So edge boning, space, boning, space, boning. Piece 4. This one is kind of right in the middle, more or less. Let me go ahead and pin this while I'm thinking about it. This is kind of sort of making it look like there's a hip gusset here, even though there isn't. I am really, really, really liking this pattern of making it look like there's gussets, but there's not. I feel like I'm being sneaky. I don't know. Ooh, you thought there was a gusset there? You're wrong. Number 5 is just put down the middle, more or less, all the way down. Alright, let's get some sewing done. Finishing up the last little seam. And then it's basically all handwork from here. I think I'm going to put in grommets next before I do the boning. Alright, so I truly meant to film putting the grommets on. I even had the camera right next to me the entire time. I put in 26 grommets. Did I think once during those 26 grommets that, oh, I need to turn the camera on? No, I didn't. But they're in. So I am doing the embroidery on the gussets, basically. I don't think I'm going to do them in the hips. I think I'm just going to do them in the bust. That's what I seem to be looking at originals. Now, the original had, like, soutache braid. I could not find soutache braid in the color I wanted and get it here on time. So I'm opting for embroidery. There's one in the There's an original in the Met that is very similar in design. I think it's silk, and it's like black and yellow. It's gorgeous. But it has embroidery on the gussets. It actually has the main fabric is black, and then all the strips they did in yellow. And then did a little strip across in yellow, and they did some embroidery. Anyway, we're going to do embroidery. So I just chose, I think this is called a herringbone stitch. I don't know, wait. I don't remember what it's called. Chevron? I don't know. But we're doing it. And some lovely green thread. And tie this off, being very careful because this is a boning channel right here, and I don't want to make it too small to fit the boning. But I do need to tie that off. There we go. Let's put in some bones. Alright. So I have this metal one, and I did already put in one here. Nothing goes here. So the next one is right here. There we go. That one went in really easy. And I already have 2 more cut the same size. So let's go ahead and put them on this side of the corset. Alright, getting a little bit more done on the corset. Working on binding. So I bound one half of the corset already. And I bound the bottom of this one, and I'm working on the top. I'm just kind of filling it into place. I'm using a linen tape as the binding because it's the same color as the actual fabric, and it's very thin. I was worried about using the actual fabric to bind because it is a very thick fabric. But I just happened to have this linen tape for another project, and I had enough of it left over, so this is going to work out just fine. And after binding, we're going to work on the embroidery. So I did the bottom part. Looking at the original, this is almost exactly what the original did, except for this long stem part would have gone straight, and for some reason I did it in the center. But I started doing that, and by the time I realized what I messed up, I didn't feel like doing 3 of them over again, because this whole course is done, or this whole half is done. So I started it basically right where the lace ended. I'm going up here. The center is roughly here, so I'm going to start here. And just kind of go next to it, and go next to this one. I'm doing this 4 times, so there's 2. Three, 4. Then we're going to do the same thing on this other side. So start over here at the 1.5 mark. Maybe. There we go. And then go up. I'm not an expert corset flosser by any stretch of the imagination. This may be the second corset I've ever flossed. Alright, now I'm going to start right in the middle here and go down almost all the way, kind of like halfway between these 2. And then we're going to make a little flower. There's 1, 2, 3. And do the same thing on the other side. I'm about to run out of thread though. And then we're going to do 1 right in the middle. Same length. And go right in that same spot. So now I'm going to do the same thing here where it ends in this area. That's why this pin's here. I gotta do 1 here and 1 here. Alright, putting on the lace. So what I did last time, and what I will do again this time, is put the lace on the very edge And I didn't do this with very nice stitches. It was more like, you know, just tacking it on. I'm just working in the ditch here to kind of just tacking. I'll do that on the top or on the bottom of the lace and or ribbon and on top of the ribbon. But after we do this, it's just lacing the whole thing up. Here's the finished corset. It turned out so adorable. Love it. And there's the embroidery at the bottom. Yeah, like it fits really well, like almost very straight up and down the back with a good hip spring. It works so well. I am not wearing the combinations. I think we discussed in the combination video that I'm not very comfortable with the whole split crotch door things and nothing to cover. So went with my 1870s chemise that I had already. But yeah, like it's so pretty. I would have liked the lace better had it turned out the same color as the fabric, but honestly, it's still really cute. And you don't always see the lace matching. You do sometimes see contrasting lace, and I think it's close enough that it works really well. So, yay! The green is just absolutely gorgeous. I just love the green and brownish gray tones. It just fits so well, and yeah, I'm very, very pleased with this corset, honestly. It's very comfortable to wear. It fits really well after the changes that I made it. Yeah, so I am actually going to probably use this corset. I'm thinking about making an 1860s corset to kind of replace the one I currently have, which I had meant to be a shaped corset, but apparently forgot to add shaping here, and so I added a gusset in there, and the gusset wasn't planned, and it fits and it works really well. It just isn't quite what I wanted, and yeah, I need to make another one of those. So I think I'm probably going to use the same pattern. It fits really well. I'm going to overlay my other corset pattern on top, the one I used for the 1860s corset, and kind of get the shapes and the lines a little bit closer. Because I think I could probably use a little bit more in the waist here. Like it fits up and down here, but they're still, it's comfortably loose, but I like mine a little bit tighter because I like the firmness and not feeling like my corset's moving. So I prefer to lace a little bit tighter than most people do, because to me that's comfortable. Some people don't find that comfortable. They prefer it a little bit looser. I prefer a little bit tighter. But it's still not uncomfortable for me. Like I can still wear this. I'd be very happy doing pretty much anything in this. But I think just for like, because I do mostly 1850s and 60s, for my corset I use a lot, I think I'd rather lace it down just a little bit more, just to make sure it's not moving around. So I can like still put my fingers in here. It's not uncomfortable. Like they do look very rigid and uncomfortable, but they're not. Like I can still move around in it, even with the busk. So they're not bad. It's just, this is actually a very comfortable corset. Honestly, I think if I just sat down, I would probably forget I had it on, which, you know, is nice. But yeah, it fits really well. The shaping is really good as far as how it gives me shape. Bust is a slight bit big, maybe like by 3/4 of an inch, but like I fill it out, so it's okay. It could have used to be a little bit tighter, but I also wonder how much of it is this, because my bust didn't go up all the way, and if I were to actually meet that, it actually fits. So I might have to put like a hook and eye or something there, because I didn't give bust that was quite long enough. In the bottom it's fine that it doesn't go all the way down because there's bones right here, but this needs to fit match. So I might have to hook and eye that. But other than that, it's a really nice corset. It's comfortable. I can move around in it. It's just very pretty. So yeah, I'm very thrilled with it. And yeah, it's probably the prettiest corset I've made in a while. I don't usually do the whole pretty lace embroidery flossing bit in my corsets. But I kind of like it. And I like that it's contrasting. Like for the 1830s corset, we did a lot of embroidery, but it was all white on white. Which is nice, but it's not exactly, you don't see it like immediately. Whereas with this, you see the embroidery, and I really like that. But yeah, it's really precious. So yeah, I'm very thrilled with how it turned out. I am comfortable in it. I'm ready to start working on some 1870s dresses. I actually have one cut out already and mostly fitted. I had to try on one more time just to make sure that the changes I made really worked. So thank you so much for joining me today as we made an 1870s-ish corset. I hope you enjoyed the journey. I certainly enjoyed it, and I have a very nice, comfortable corset now at the end of it, even with all the fitting issues that we had at the beginning, or pattern making issues, trying to make it fit. Or at least I don't know how much of it ended up on video, but it was hard. Just because I knew it was the laughing moon pattern, and I knew for the 1830s corset I had to go like 5 sizes down, but I wasn't sure if it was going to work the same way with this corset, and so I was like trying to measure each pattern piece and subtract seam allowance and figuring out, yeah, that's about what I needed, and yeah, for all that, it turned out really well. So without a mock-up and anything, so I'm very pleased with it, and I think I should be making more of this style corset. I do like how it fits on the hips. This is quite comfortable for me, that it doesn't go too far down here. I think that's one of the things that I don't like about my current 1860s corset, is that it's straight across and it's very low for an 1860s corset. Usually they were up a bit higher because nothing below here matters. You got a hoop skirt on. So this is just nice tummy control. It goes down in the back just a slight bit more, which is comfortable. But on the sides you really don't need that. So I like the shape of this. This seems to mimic a lot more of the originals I've been seeing. So it makes sense to kind of do this style. So I'll probably overlay this pattern onto my 1860s pattern and make sure to use this part for the bust and to use the shaping here. But I do want more of the waist control that I have in the other corset already. So I think it's just going to be meshing those two patterns together, and I think that'll work ideally. But for a nice summer corset for the 1870s, I'm very happy with how this turned out. It did not quite end up being like the single layer corset I was envisioning because of how much, I guess, channels we had to make. So very, very rarely do you see a part that's a true single layer corset. Like there's just really basically on the gussets. Everything else is covered. So just the gussets are single layer. Everything else is really triple layer because I didn't really trust the linen, and so I put the cotton in between. So really it's a triple layer corset in a lot of ways, but it still works out really well. It's comfortable, it's linen, so it's very breathable. It's going to be cool anyway, even with the extra layers. And it's really holding up well. I've worn it for a couple times now, a couple fittings, kind of moved around in it, and there's no danger so far of the bones poking out or anything being weird. So I think it's going to work out really well. I think we'll have to really see once I start getting out at events and kind of really moving around in it, how I'm actually going to move in it. And yeah, I think we'll see then how it goes. But really, it seems like it's going to work really well, even with the loose weave. So I'm quite happy with it. It's comfortable. It's just nice. So yeah, thank you so much for joining me today as we made our 1870s corset. A little bit different than we normally do because we don't usually go up this much in time frame. But yeah, I'll probably end up using this for 1880s too, even though it's a little bit early. I've never done 1880s, honestly. Not something I really wanted to do. I'm not really interested in that, but a friend gave me a whole bunch of original clothes from the 1870s and 1880s, and I fell in love with one particular dress, and I'm going to make that dress. So I'll probably just end up wearing this corset. So ideally I probably could have put a spoon bust in here to make it a little bit better, but it'll work for what it is. So, you know, eventually if we wanted to make an 1880s corset, we could, if I really got into that type of time period, but I don't think I will. I kind of like to cap it at 75, so we'll see. It is what it is. But thank you so much for joining me today as we made our pretty little 1870s corset. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you back here on Monday.